I'm going to title this message tonight, The Craziest Stories in the Bible. And I've been through a lot of apologetics in the Bible. What that means is, if you run into trouble, something that might be confusing or hard to believe, might seem like a contradiction, then you study it and see if it is or not. And one thing I learned about the Holy Scripture and God's Word, when you think you run into trouble, it's not. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about now. And I forget, I've been through all the evolution topics. I've been to college where they try to get kids to doubt their faith in every class you take. You can take a class on horticulture and they're trying to get you to doubt God. I've spent days and days and days and days in creation science. I've watched the debates. I've studied the Bible up and down, left, right. And I believe in the Bible 100%. As far as that goes, I have faith that the Bible is true. I have faith the Bible is true. And so sometimes I forget that not everybody's got the same background I have. A lot of people might have doubts. And so tonight I'm going to talk about some of the crazy stories in the Bible and kind of what helped me to overcome, any doubt. And I tell you, with the Santa Claus stuff we go through and the evolution we go through at school, I tell you, it lays a blow on you. And once I found out Santa Claus is real, I've been fighting atheism. I think I will for the day I die. But I do believe in God. I believe it's true. And I've seen God do miracles that you couldn't. There's no way anything could have happened besides God and miracles. Margaret, that night that we had water, and we said we're going to pray that an angel stirs the water. And I was sitting beside of it, and I'm not going to stand behind the pulpit line. I don't want to lose people, but I believe in miracles. I believe that we're supposed to be walking in them. How else people really, really, really going to believe we don't see miracles? And man, we invited the black praise team to come to have church with us, and they started getting the music going, getting everybody in that praise mode, faith mode. And I looked down at the water sitting beside of me, and it was going. Was it not, Margaret? It was a spinning like, and there wasn't a soul near it, nothing but me. It looked like and they preached the message and said everybody jump in that water, and there's a line of people about to knock each other down and get in it. And there was miracles that you cannot explain to happen tonight. One is like people got feelings in their teeth. There's a lady got feeling in her teeth. I think Donald got feelings in her teeth. And I grew up with them my whole life. I know they ain't going to lie about something like that. And that's something you can't explain. I mean, there's nobody could have done that but God. And so I believe in miracles. I come from a little bit. I grew up Southern Baptist, and I started going like more Pentecostal type churches. And a lot of the old people that was at the Pentecostal churches, they come from way back in the 40s and 50s when the Pentecostal churches were growing everywhere, and there were signs and wonders and miracles happening everywhere. They even happened on TV when TV first come out, before like the Many Hens and them kind of guys hijacked it. Kim Copeland's hijacked it, but that was legit awesome stuff. And if you go around talking to people that the Pentecostal had Pentecostal grandparents and stuff, you just hear miracle. You hear it in Baptist too, but you hear it more in Pentecostal. So I believe in miracles. I love miracles, and I think God's involving us eventually walking miracles here. I tell you, Rutledge is like India. If they don't see miracles, they're not going to really pay no attention to you. So we're going to have to get something going on here. And I talked to another pastor today at Rutledge. I said, we're getting our attendance up. Nobody's from Rutledge. He said, we got a house full. Nobody from Rutledge. He's from Rutledge too. So I tell you, Rutledge has got a spirit on it. And so we need to pray. And I want to tell people at Rutledge to listen to me. Just because you said a prayer when you was 8, 9, 10-year-old, does not mean you've done all you need to do in your life. You need to get in church. You need to help church, support church. You're commanded to go to church. And you need to live right, or you're going to have to face God and be accountable for all the time that you sit at home. And most people I talk to, a lot of them, they like Jesus. They pray. They sing gospel songs, but they ain't been to church 20 years. Why? What's in their head? What's told them that that's okay to do that? It's not okay to do that. So God's got us here. And our ministry's growing. I'll say this, I'll get into the message. I was told by a family member, you don't need to go rent another building. Said, there's nobody going to come but your family anyway. And that really, I thought, I didn't say nothing, I didn't fuss. Really made me really, really mad. It's kind of true in a way. We've got our attendance up now. It's like this morning we had over 20. Last Sunday morning we had over 20. I think Wednesday night we had over 20. That's good. I'm happy to have over 20. That's not real bad in this day and time. And I was also told when I bought this pulpit right here, why'd you buy that for? You'll never need it. Everything's going to ruin. You don't need that. I was like, really? And Jenny grabbed me. She's like, don't. She knew I was about to pick up something and throw it. And I said, well, and I was told I need to listen to this other preacher because everybody likes him. People don't like my preaching. I was told this by people close to me. So, that's kind of encouragement I get when I'm called to go out here and start a church. devil speaking through people. And when I started this church, guess what? The only people coming was my family. But now there's more people coming. You know, there's probably been, I say 60, 70 different people, if you counted everybody else come through the door. And that's more than just my family. And when I started, I would put my video on YouTube and Facebook and here. You take everybody together, maybe 20 people a week was listening to my messages. And I'm by far not a superstar. I'm not an internet star. But I could go check my algorithms and my analytics and show you I have thousands of people listening to me now. So we've evolved to that. Don't listen to the devil. Don't let people discourage you. And it's just going to keep getting more and more and more. It's not going to go backwards. It's going to go forwards. So don't let anybody discourage you. But that's just kind of stuff I've had to go through, you know, big headaches and stuff. But when I listen now back to the sermon, you know, I don't believe in any religions is true but the Holy Bible. Amen. You talk about Islam. They said Prophet Muhammad looked up in the sky and he split the moon to prove that he was a prophet. I mean, really, he said, everybody looked at the moon and it would split. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't believe that at all. He married a 6-year-old girl and consummated the marriage when she was 9 years old. He told people to drink camel pee and milk for medicine. And there's some more really crazy stuff in the Quran and the other Islam. But I just said, man, that's the craziest, stupidest stuff I've ever seen in my life. I said, that's idiotic. And then you hear about Hinduism. You know, they literally eat cow dung. They worship cows. They worship rats. I watched the other day where there was what's the electric area called? A transporter or something like that would be out here. You know, we got gates around here that in India, but a cow bumped into an electric thing, whatever, where we get our electricity from, and it killed a cow. So the people, the Hindus, got sticks and beat the electric and literally knocked out their own electric power that goes to their houses because a cow bumped into it and killed it. I'm like, man, a cow, that's the dumbest animal in the world. That's what they worship. And me, I think that's really stupid. They worship like thousands of gods. There was one story where a man had an army of talking monkeys and went to fight demons or something. I was like, man, that is dumb. Army of talking monkeys. When I studied Hinduism a little bit, when they was trying to get me pulled into it, it talked about growing humans on trees, like Krishna grew humans on trees. I mean, that's the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. I don't believe in that at all. But sometimes I think, okay, now let's look outside looking into Christianity. And I hear some stories like, you know, Jesus walking on water, Jonah getting swallowed by the whale, and some stories like that. Well, a lot of people don't believe in that. That's what I kind of see where they're coming from. I do believe it. I believe if it said Jonah swallowed the whale, I would believe it. The Bible said it. The Bible's been put to the test. It's been tried and true. So we're going to talk about some stuff a little bit. First, we're going to talk about the Noah's Ark story. And so a lot of people laugh. So, oh, what a fairy tale. The earth got flooded. Oh, ha, ha, ha. He built an ark. Oh, ha, ha, ha. But you know, all over the whole entire globe, every culture has a flood story of one way or another. You can go out here, some secluded tribe in the Amazon rainforest has never seen another human being in their life. And they can be primitive and be blowing them darts and shoot bow and arrows, wearing leaves for clothes. And if you got to learn their language talking to them, they would have a flood story. Even some languages, the flood, like where they have symbols for letters, you know, there's evidence that the flood had a lot of influence on it. And even the Mount Ararat, where the boat, the ark is supposed to be docked at, well, in the mountains of Mount Ararat in Turkey, there's a big old giant boat out there on the mountain. And people's done excavating on it and studied it. And it was like, man, this was a boat. What's a boat doing here on a mountaintop in the middle of nowhere in Turkey? And all around it is big giant anchors, look like, you know, Noah cut the anchors and let them drop. And it's in Turkey. And you talk to somebody from Turkey, it's like, yeah, I'd like to go see Noah's Ark up there. It's like, oh, yeah, that's up there. You know, they don't argue with you. They don't say, well, they don't know what it is. It's up there. So, you know, that's a little bit of evidence. And up here at the top of Clint's Mountain, people's done this my whole life. They go up there to get rocks to build fireplaces or decorate, and there's fossils on the rocks, aquatic marine fossils. My fireplace in my house was built from rocks that they got on top of Clint's Mountain, and they have like starfish, aquatic marine fossils inside the rock. Now, either this place was covered by water like the flood, like the earth, like the Bible says. A lot of scientists, if they're honest, you can't always go by science, so you can't always trust the science. But they said the whole earth at one time, you could prove the whole earth was, every bit of it was covered at one time by water. Now, why would there be ocean life on top of the Clinch Mountain if there wasn't water on top of it? And the atheist or secularist excuse for that would be, well, it took trillions and zillions of gobzillions, billion, trillions, gazillion years for that to happen. You know, we just once underwater, and all over zillion, billion, trillion years, it pushed up. I'm like, whatever. You have to have faith to believe either one of them. And I believe Noah's Ark story. I believe what God gave us. If you study the population, on how the population would be in consideration of famines and war and disease, the population from the time of Noah's Ark to now will be exactly where it's at. Because, you know, the population doubles over so many years, and we'll be exactly bottlenecked, right, exactly where we're supposed to be from Noah's Ark. And a lot of people laugh, oh, ha, 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 ha. Noah's Ark, you know, there's only 8 that survived. You know, like 3 families beside Noah's Ark. So there would have been a lot of inbreeding. Ha, 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 ha. They always use the inbreeding thing, like Adam and Eve, even Abraham. Now listen. They believe that we came from monkeys or amoebas. You know, okay, where did the first amoeba come from? It would have to breed with itself. If there's just one, it had to breed. So it's easier for me to believe there's a little bit of inbreeding going on. The self-breeding by a little molecule, and then it divided up and eventually become male, female. And you know what? The first male, female, they would have had babies. And then you know what? They would have had to inbreed. You can't get around inbreeding to nothing. I try to tell people that when they fuss at me in my family reunions. Joking. But inbreeding is just part of life. Love it or hate it, it's what it is. So they can use that for laugh about it all they want to, but they can't get around it. A lot of times if you tell people, when they laugh at you about what you believe, I've not debated thousands of atheists. I even debated one today. And it's like, ha, 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 Noah's Ark fairy tale. I said, I want to hear what you believe. Hey, if you're so brilliant, you got it figured out. Tell me what you believe. Tell me the better answer. And almost zero will tell you. And if they do, boy, you're ready to hear some insane, nutty stuff. Another one's Jonah, swallowed by the whale. People say, oh, it's a big fish. Big monster. Jesus says whale. If you read Jesus, he says whale. What other fish is big enough to swallow? Well, fish is a mammal. Whale is a mammal. It's a big old mammal fish. It's a fish. It looks. You have any little kid in the world say, what's that? That's a fish. You ask any adult, what's that fish? Scientists might call it a mammal because it breathes air every now and then or something, but it's a fish. And it swallowed Jonah. And there has been historical documents of people that has been swallowed up by whales. They used to hunt whales and use their blubber for like oil, and they used their meat, just use them for a lot of things. And every now and then there would be a sailor who would get swallowed up by a whale. And in a couple of days, the whale would puke it out on shore or puke it out wherever. And they said that the people that it's done that to would always have their skin bleached. And they would be like weird, creepy looking, like their hair is bleached, their skin's bleached, and they'd be like glowing, scary. So you kind of see if that happened to Jonah, if that happened to Jonah. The whale spit him out, and he goes preaching in Nineveh, and he's glowing and bleached out and creepy looking. And that might have been one thing to help open their eyes, because they was very, 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 they weren't like Rutledge. They was very, very, very receptive of Jonah's message. So that might have something to do with it. But like I said, if it said Bible said Jonah swallowed the whale, I'd believe it. You got to believe the Bible. And we know Nineveh existed. Those ruins of the city over there in the Middle East today that everybody knows was Nineveh. So the Bible is the most best historical record book we have on this earth. There's more evidence that Jesus Christ lived than Alexander the Great. There's more evidence Jesus Christ lived than any old historical figure ever. We've got it. We're walking in the truth. We're walking in the way of life. And it's blowing my mind today about how many people is being so acceptive of false religions coming in the United States of America. Look over in the Constitution of the United States of America. You see John Hancock, and who else you see? Thomas Jefferson, was he signing it? George Washington sign it? I'm sorry, I should have looked it up for it. But anyway, you don't see Muhammad Ali sign it. You don't see Bibi Yucca Waka or whatever. You see Christian names. It was Christian founded. And now they're trying to pour in false religions and people's being accepted of it. Jesus said if anybody brings another gospel but his, let them be a curse, not accepted of him. But people's accepting them everywhere now. I'm like, it's new thing. It's just triggered where everybody is taking up for Islam now. And I think a lot of it's political. They relate like the Christian and the right as, enemies to Islam. So they support Islam to get back at the people on the right. But man, if you want to want your kids wear burqas, your grandkids wear burqas, you want men come around and have them 20 wives, marry your grandkids, 2 or 3 of your grandkids, 2 or 3 other grandkids, one man, and put burqas on. They go around, if you don't obey Sharia law, you get your head cut off. I've got a friend that's a Muslim. He lived in a Muslim country. It's one of the most moderate Muslim countries. He said if you date somebody outside your race, they come arrest you, put you to jail. If you date somebody that's outside your religion, they come arrest you, put you in jail. And it's the moderate Muslim country. People don't realize what kind of oppression they're praying for by letting all this stuff in. The women see a bunch of beautiful, dark-skinned men come over here. Oh, that's why they're so accepted of it. A lot of women are, liberal women and stuff. And the men, a lot of the men know, man, they're coming over here. They're all fighting age men. Where's the women and kids at? They're not refugees. They're coming over here just like the Bible says. The Antichrist make war on the saints, and they overcome us. And they're sprinkling them killers all over this earth right now, all over this globe as we speak. When the Antichrist comes and he snaps his finger and pulls the trigger, but there'll be sleeper cells all over this planet that's ready to go, ready to attack. I spent the night in Pennsylvania, New York a couple of years ago. And it was when Walmart's open third shift. I went to go inside Walmart and get some stuff, and 100% of the workers were Muslim. All the women had hijabs on, 100%, and all the men, you could tell. So I tell you, they're coming here. They're filling up. I know people that's been trying to be kidnapped by them. I know people that's had a bounty on their head that Muslims had. In other countries overseas, they kidnap Christians and prostitute them. And we want that stuff here? Are you insane? I'll talk a little quick about the Shriners real quick. Shriners would go around taking up money for kids that was hurt. It was a pretty good charity. It wasn't bad. But a lot of people would say, oh, the Shriners gave that kid that money. The Shriners, now listen, if I go up taking an offering for Margaret, then I give her the money. Did I give her the money, or did all y'all give her the money? All y'all gave it. I didn't give it to her. I just took up the collection. So that's what Shriners do. They take up collection and take the credit for giving it to the kids. And they say, oh, you can't talk bad about the Shriners kids. Everything they got is Islam. They're the Kabbalah temple. That's where Muhammad was married. Everything you see has to do with that. Fez hats, that's an Islam hat. Everything, and then the churches. My grandfather helped start. He's a good guy, and his heart was in the right place. But they would sell the Shriners papers and give the money to the Shriners, and the Shriners sent them back a plaque that had the Islam logo on it. And when you walked in the church where I grew up in, there was 30 plaques of the Islam logo on the wall. I said, you walk in, it looks like a mosque. And I told Jenny, I said, I can't stand it. I said, every time I walk into church, all I see is Islam. And she said, well, I think this one woman, she cleans. I think she was fussing about it on me up her. Maybe you could talk to her about getting them took down. So I went to her and I said, listen, I said, this is all Islam logo. And I put it up, my phone showed it. I said, it's 30 logos right here, Islam. What's that doing in church? Roar! Get my head beat off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Jenny, you set me up. And anyway, my grandfather helped put it in there. He was a good guy. He wanted to just help kids. But everybody related them logos to helping kids, helping kids, helping kids, helping kids. Subliminal messages. And now people that grew up in that church, went to that church, is now taken up and will fight you to death for Islam. Oh, it's sweet. It's good. You quit being a bigot. I said, you know what? We put it up there like it wasn't no big deal. And now it's come to bite us. I tell you, don't play with this stuff. Yoga is Hinduism. Yoga is not nothing that we're supposed to be playing with. Look up yoga. Just type in the word in your Google. The first definition comes up, Hinduism, Buddhism. I tell you, is Jesus Christ Hindu Buddhism? No. If it ain't Jesus Christ, it's demonic. And everybody wants to play with that stuff. And I had a discussion with my Christian friends one time at a toy show. I was telling them about how a lot of the churches, women are getting into yoga, and you can just almost like clockwork. Get into yoga, something bad happens to them. Get into yoga, something bad happens to them. And he goes, yeah, man, he said, that's bad stuff. I seen him 6 months later at another toy show, and he come up right up to me. He said, man, you won't believe what happened. I said, what? He said, my wife got in that Hindu yoga. A lot of it's at gyms and workout places. Nothing wrong working out, stretch, work out. You don't have to hum-ha around and do a bunch of Hindu yoga stuff. But he said, my wife, within a month, become a full-blown, she was going to church 3 times a week, never had a problem out there. We had a perfect marriage, perfect wife. Within a month of doing yoga, she was full-blown alcoholic and cheating on me with men. And said, we ended up having to get divorced now. He said, you was right. That stuff that you left alone. Go on YouTube. Find people, Christian people that came out of yoga. Listen to some of their testimonies. How they go outside and bugs would just cover them up like fleas would cover a dog. About how they'd get headaches and get all this sickness and stuff. Listen, leave the demonic stuff alone. A lot of people just don't know. But all religions besides Christianity is bad. And I'll stand that to the day I take my last breath. It is. You can look at the fruit of Christianity. The whole world is blessed because of what Jesus did. We're not prospering off of Muslim, Hindu, or Buddhist countries. They're prospering off of us. And we're letting it die to other religions and other and demonic things. We're letting it come in witchcrafts and everything. Anyway, let's get back to some stories here. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They wouldn't bow down to Nebuchadnezzar's big old 50-foot golden statue. And so that was a death sentence. And they said, we're not going to do it. They said, God's able to deliver us out of it, but even if we don't, we're not going to bow down to the statue. Boy, you did not go in front of them kings back in them days, tell them you weren't going to do nothing. So he made the furnace good and hot before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in, and he threw them in there, and their clothes wouldn't even burn. And they said, look in, there's another figure there like the Son of God. Jesus in there hanging out with them, you know. And people's like, man, it's like, I have a hard time believing they was in a fire not burning up. Well, eternity, people's going to be in fire not burning up for eternity. But it's happened. Listen, the Bible is not going to record normal stories. Like, yeah, Daniel got up, and he had supper, and he went to the bathroom, and he took a bath and went to bed. It's only going to record thousands of years of history, the miracle stuff that happened, the amazing stuff that happened, the unique, unusual stuff that happened. It's not going to record the normal stuff. And it don't record every miracle that's ever happened. The Bible said if you recorded everything that Jesus had done through history, the books, ain't no book can contain it. Jesus is even doing miracles, great stuff today. But I believe it. I believe Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't burn up a bit. And that was a good witness, and that changed. Man, I tell you, it takes people being super close to God. It takes people being full of the Holy Ghost and having angels follow them around everywhere to go. God will work. God will work. But we read about Daniel. You know, it's the same thing. When he was told not to pray, he would pray. They set him up. He got caught, thrown to the lion's den. And you know what? They said the angels shut the lion's mouth. They didn't eat Daniel. But man, I tell you, lion's a scary animal. You see, have you ever caught a cat in a live trap? And when you let it out, it's in a half split second, that thing's gone. Them are the fastest, meanest little boogers you ever seen in your life, a cat is. Imagine one like 20 times bigger, you know, way bigger than us. I don't know why we picked the Lions logo. I didn't even tell Jenny to do that. She didn't even know that. It just happened. We ended up getting a Lion logo. But it's cool because we make our YouTube thumbnails. Every one of them's got a different line. And man, it's so cool because the lion's a powerful creature. But man, they had them starved to death lions ready to eat whatever they threw down to them. And they threw Daniel to them. And the angel shut their mouth and was like, you ain't eating this today, old boy. So Daniel didn't get touched. And so that sure changed the king's mind and let Daniel go. And the people that set Daniel up, they're them to the lions. And they said the lions were jumping out of the cage, eating them. They was eating them before they even got to the pit, tearing them all to pieces. You don't mess with God's people. You don't mess with God. I believe that story. I don't doubt it, did you? And for some reason, that just don't sound as odd and awkward and weird as Muhammad splitting the moon up in the sky. That's just a silly thing. I want to read this real quick in Joshua chapter 10, verse 12. You know, I ain't going to give you all time to turn with me. Just pay attention good. In Joshua 10, verse 12 said, Then spake Joshua to the Lord, in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hastened not to go down about a whole day. So in this story right here, Joshua, the sun didn't move, the sun stayed still, it didn't go nowhere. And you know, a lot of people laugh at that. Yeah, right. The sun stays still. The moon stays still. And you know, if you, I don't know, because I'm not interested in stuff. I hate math. I hate it with a passion. I hate physics. I hate all this stuff. But they say the people that study this stuff, when they do their calculations on the calendars and everything, ancient calendars, it seems like there's always one day missing. And I've heard that my whole life. There's always one day it seems to be missing. Well, it explains why in the Bible. I believe that story. I don't doubt that story. I believe that better than drinking camel pee and milk together. I believe that better than that eating cow manure is good for me, don't you? And I'm trying to talk about stuff in the Bible that's, you know, hard. There's one hard one that I was always hoping nobody'd bring up when I was trying to, you know, convert them or talk to them about the Bible. They had slavery in the Bible. Now, there was rules on it. You couldn't be cruel to your slave. They weren't allowed to go kidnap people and sell them as slaves. Every 7 years, they had to free them. It don't matter if you had them for one day. When that 7-year hit, you had to free your slaves. There was rules. There wouldn't be abuse or nothing. That bothered me. And one reason we had slavery in America is because of what the Old Testament, they would use scriptures to back it up. First thing, let me announce. The first nations in the whole entire planet that got rid of slavery. First, I think it was England, Christian nation. The second got rid of slavery was the United States of America, Christian nation. Christian nations was the first one to 100% completely get rid of slavery. Slavery is still going on now. You can guess what kind of countries, what religions? Islam. Islam's were the last to publicly slavery to be done away with. But there's still going on in a lot of Islamic countries. Some of the African countries and stuff. But the Christian nations were first ones to get rid of it. What do we always get blamed for? Slavery. I'm against slavery. I got ancestors who were a biker in a coal bucket. My DNA's got them. I got slavery. I don't think anybody justified loves slavery, but it's in the Old Testament. And it really bugged me for a long time. And I heard people say, "Well, they're debt slaves. They had to work for people that paid debt off." I said, "That wasn't it. I don't see that in the Bible." But then Tyler told me, my brother, he said, "Listen, there's a good answer for why they had slaves. You would go, and they've done a lot of wars. They've done a lot of fighting back to ancient time. All right, you just won a war. You just defeated a country that come to attack you and want to rape, kill your children, and burn your city down, steal all your goods, and you beat them. What do you do with them? Do you kill all of them?" They didn't really have jails then. So what they would do, they're like, well, we don't want to put nothing to waste. They would make them slaves. And slavery has went on in every culture since the beginning of time. I hate it. I'm glad it's gone for the most part. But they had it. United States of America, 1 in 300 and something people is a slave in a jail in a cage right now. We call prisoners in jail. And that's not the Bible's way of dealing with punishment. That's how we deal with it. Because people that own prisons and stuff, they make money off of it. Bible, they whip people, they kill people, and they find people. And that's how they kept crime down in the Bible. They didn't have to have cages to take people away from their family, put in a cage. But I tell you, I didn't like slavery, but it's in the Bible. And during that day and during that time, I'd say it was justified. Now, we don't read anywhere in the New Testament where we're supposed to have slaves. And he says, servants, obey your master, but it didn't say slaves, obey your master. Servant, I work at a job. I got to obey my boss. If I don't get no money or I get fired. We're supposed to obey our bosses and stuff. And because of that in the New Testament, the slave owners would let their slaves have the Bible and read the Bible and stuff because they didn't encourage an overthrow or anything. But listen, slavery in America's gone. Let's just get over it. It's gone. We don't have it no more. And they'll never bring it. I don't think they'll ever bring it back. I think nobody is for it. But the Bible did speak of it. It's just in a better light than normal. A whole lot better than the way the Muslims did it. But then we read in 2 Kings 6, 1 through 7. I'll read this real fast. Elisha, not Elijah, but Elisha, the sons of the prophets said to Elisha, behold, now the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Let us go, we pray thee, into Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make us a place there where we may dwell. And he answered, go ye. And one said, be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. He answered, I will go. So he went with them, and they came to Jordan. They cut down wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell in the water, and he cried and said, alas, master, for it is borrowed. And the man of God said, where fell it? And he showed him the place. And he cut down a stick, cast it in there, and the iron did swim. Therefore said he, take it to thee. And he put out his hand and took it. So an axe head, an iron axe head floated. A lot of people have a hard time believing that. I know with Elisha. Elisha was a holy guy. Elijah gave him his mantle. A lot of people don't believe that Elijah, he didn't even have to die. He was so close to God, and God just sent a chariot to him and took him on out of here. Listen, the Bible says when we die, angels carry us to Abraham's bosom. So the only difference was people seen this one, and he didn't die first. He's one of the few people on earth that never got to die. So Enoch didn't die and Elijah died. I don't have a hard time believing that. I believe in that a lot more quicker than I believe Muhammad split the moon. Muhammad had multiple wives, wouldn't let nobody else marry his wives, after he died or anything. And there's more stuff Islam. I've got to make sure I'm getting my facts straight. So Elisha also, he had a bald head. You all listen to this, especially you youngins in here. And he said that the kids, like 40-some kids, was making fun of him, going, why don't you rise up, bald head? Like probably why don't you rise up like Elijah did, this kind of bald head. And God sent a bear out and mauled them kids. I don't think it said it killed them. I just want to check it real quick to run out of time. But a bear mauled them kids. And atheists, critics all over the world, but look at that Bible. God sent a bear to whoop a bunch of kids for making fun of a bald-headed man. I said, well, quit making fun of us. You don't need making fun of our bald head, But anyway, you don't mess with a man of God, especially when he's on the standing like Elisha was. You just don't mess with him. And God did that, for example, let people know, don't make a joke out of this guy. Because I tell you, the children of Israel needed them prophets that were real. Because the children of Israel, them prophets would tell them, if you go to battle, everybody's going to get killed. If you fall into sin, God's going to punish you. Them prophets is why we have the Bible today. They help preserve the Bible today. God didn't want them to be made a joke in front of people. And we don't. If the real ones today, we don't need to be making a joke. There ain't many of them, I tell you. But if there's a real man of God, a real prophet, you don't make him a joke. And Renee, I'm not saying I'm anything. I'm not saying I'm a great man of God. I'm not a joker like it. How many people has called chew me out and died right after? Now, there's been quite a bit, ain't it? It's scary when people call chew me out. I'm like, oh no, and I don't pray for them to die. I don't want them to die. But it's happened a lot. And so be careful. That's all I have to say. Be careful. Okay, in Isaiah, see 43, 18, and 19. No, wait a minute. That's this morning's sermon. Oh, got that wrong. In Matthew 14, 22. Okay, this is about Jesus walking on the water. Matthew 14, 22. Straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get in the ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent his multitudes away. And when he had set up the multitudes away, he went up to the mountain part to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the sea. Now listen, that's hard to believe. You might be an outsider looking in and like, woo, that's a rough one. And when the disciples saw him walk on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down on the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But he saw the wind boisterous. He was afraid and began to sink. He cried, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said to him, O thou little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. And they were there in the ship and came to worship him and said, O truth, thou art the Son of God. Now listen, if God's going to come to earth, he's going to do some miracles to prove he's God. And Jesus even said the miracles he did, we're supposed to do the same, even greater. Why did we get out of that? How did we get away from the miracles of God and walking in the miracles of God? How did we do that? Why did we do that? I tell you, that there is, back in it, when I was telling you earlier about the Pentecostals that broke out, and I'm not saying they did everything right. Their doctrine was better than it is now, to be honest with you. And they wasn't doing silly things. I mean, if they prayed for somebody, they prayed for them, they get healed. They wasn't doing all the silly stuff with it. But I tell you, they was walking in the power of God. People was getting saved. I heard of churches, like they would start a church and people would never leave. They'd never backslide. They would live their whole life. Everybody would be living good. They was powerful and they were strong and there was miracles and there was signs and wonder. I served under a pastor one time. Went to A. Allen meeting. He was a famous healing evangelist. And he was a human like everybody else, but he walked in miracle power because he fasted, he prayed, and he sought God on it. And he said his arm was almost completely severed off and he was getting ready to be amputated. But A. Allen was coming to town. So his mom and dad took him to the tent meeting. He got prayed for it. He said, look, I didn't get my arm amputated. He said, I remember it. I was a little kid, perfectly healed. A. Allen's kid said they was filming his meeting one day and he was up on a podium and said this woman come in. She was under a tent. They couldn't put a sheet on her because she had fourth-degree burns all over her. He said they brought him in. They prayed for her. And he said it's just like a modern movie you'd see now. So they didn't have special effects like that then. And said literally her skin started growing and healing. And it freaked the cameraman out so much he passed out and fell off the podium but got killed and stuff. And you can look this stuff up. They had tents that hold 25,000 people. 25,000 people. It was like a Trump meeting, whatever. Back in the old days in the population. Because there were signs and wonders and miracles. Now I tell you, the devil threw a wrench and all that. You know what happened? It was strong as that stuff was just flying high, going strong. Didn't look like it was going to slow down a bit. And something happened in the late 50s. And that's when you kind of see it just fall down. Elvis Presley. When he come, the devil had a weapon. And Elvis Presley was an Assembly of God. He was like, oh, I'm a Christian guy. He sung gospel. He talked about Jesus. He also done a lot of real bad things. You look into it. He wasn't a holy guy. So that was the devil's secret weapon. Now I tell you, the Antichrist is going to come. Right? The Bible talks. I'm talking about a lot because I feel it coming. He's going to be like Elvis. People's going to love him. People love it. Man, if you want to get in a fight, a lot of churches, you go over and talk bad about Elvis, and they're ready to fight you. I'd say that one time about him, talking about what his friends were saying about him, and people was acting like they was wanting to fight. I'm like, he's just a man. He's just a singer. Walls of Jericho. They talk about walking around the walls of Jericho seven times and praying, and the walls fell down. That has some people hard to believe. I don't have a hard time believing it. The story you just read about Peter walking on water, I don't have a hard time believing that. I believe God sent Jesus. Jesus done miracles. Every miracle he did had an eyewitness. When you read about a miracle in the Bible, almost all the time there was an eyewitness there. When Jesus was tempted by Satan, there wasn't an eyewitness, but why would Jesus lie about it, But most of everything that happened when Jesus ascended up There was witnesses there seen it. I think it's 500. With my right, 500 people seen it. 500 trustworthy people seen Jesus go up ascend. I tell you, man, do not doubt the Bible. Lazarus, he was Jesus' friend, had died, been dead for days. And Jesus came, this man, if you came, he wouldn't have died, had been healed. They said, he stinks now. And Jesus wept. And Jesus get ready to heal him. Jesus said, Lazarus walked forth. And he walked, he was wrapped up in bandages and stuff. And you know, so many people got saved over that miracle. And they said the Pharisees and stuff was trying to kill Lazarus because so many people got saved over Lazarus be raised dead. They was going to kill Lazarus again for people getting saved. I tell you, miracles wake people up. Miracles get people saved. Miracles prove Jesus is true. Sometimes it's what it takes to win. But like I say in India, so if you go home there and evangelize them, if you ain't walking on miracles, you ain't waking nobody up. Because then nobody's going to believe in you. And over in Africa, where they got these witch doctors doing all these hardcore, strong spells on each other, and the stuff's happening, the stuff works. If you don't go down there with some power, they're not going to listen to things you say because they're seeing power, devil's power. If you don't go match it or have more God power than what they got devil power, you're probably wasting your time. I've heard evangelists going to India just couldn't get nobody to say nothing until miracles happen. Then they start converting. One of the first churches in the whole world is in India. It's the oldest church in the world right now. Thomas, remember Downton, what we call Downton Thomas? And you can look it up. You can look the history on it. It's still there. He came to preach. He died preaching to people in India. He got that far preaching to them. There wasn't no doubting to him then. And he was converting them through miracles. And they said that they were worshiping sparkles on the water. They like to worship everything. Like I talked to people from India as Christians. They said, man, them people worship anything. And they said, but they worship sprinkles on the water. They're out there eating cow manure, worshiping water. And Thomas said, listen, he was telling them about Jesus. And he said, I'm going to throw this water and it's going to stay suspended up in the air. And he said, you're going to believe on Christ. And he grabbed the water, threw it in the air, and it stayed in the air. And guess what? All them people believed in Christ and got saved, and his church is still there. I tell you, a lot of the Pentecostal churches, they've got rid of the miracles because people don't want to fast, stay holy, and pay the price. And they've turned into mega churches. They've switched their model. The Avenue over there, Morristown, that's a Church of God. Does it look like a Church of God? You know, they probably, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad place, but there ain't no signs, wonders, miracles there. And you go around here in the area, signs, wonders, miracles not happening that much in the Pentecostal churches. Man, if it was, I'd want to be there all the time. But this could be a place where that can happen again. I had faith. I believe in God. I believe if we fast and pray and get down to business with God, cut out secular music, cut out movies, cut out just anything. I don't watch movies much anyway. Just cut out stuff we don't mean listen to. Focus on God. Because I'd a whole lot rather be praying for people and they get better than have to go to the doctor, waiting 2-3 months, go to the doctor. You know, my friend's bone, you can stick your whole hand, there's not even a bone right there, it's collarbone. It looks like it exploded. Has to wait 2 weeks, go to the doctor and get it operated on. It's about healed up. Everything's healed up. Healed up wrong. Before you even get done, would you like to just pray for that and God heal it like he used to? He probably still does in different parts of the world. He did around here in the 50s back. You know, and I'll end up this. There was a deaf school in Sevierville. And used to, you get to end of Sevierville and have to turn around and go Pigeon Forge, and there was Assembly of God School for the Deaf right across the road. They said a guy in the early 1900s went to that place and prayed for all the kids, and they all got healed, and they almost closed the school down. Of course, they tried to scrub it off history. They said when they'd have a Chicago World's Fair, there was a guy, oh man, what's his name? He's one of the first miracle healing guys in America. He wasn't perfect, but John Dowie, he had a city somewhere up there around Chicago. But he had over 100,000 people at his meetings, healing meetings and miracles and signs and wonders in Chicago. You don't read about that in history books, but you read about D.L. Moody. D.L. Moody went walking in miracles. This guy was. But they try to scrub his stuff from history, but you can find it. Just talk to people. Ask just any random good guy stood up there. You know, have you ever heard of any miracles happen in your family through Jesus Christ and God? And I bet he's got a miracle. I got them happen in my family. So I'm telling you guys, this stuff's real. We need to hang on to it. No other religions is good. Leave all that stuff alone. If anybody's ever got any kind of questions in the Bible, a lot of the new translations, like the NIV says, if you rape somebody, you have to marry it. The King James will say, the Bible don't say that. You know, yeah, you can ridicule that. I ridicule that. But that's not how it's supposed to be translated. It's just if you go out, sneak off with some woman and slept with her, got caught, you was to marry her because you shamed that woman. You had to pay the dowry and everything. You couldn't divorce her. But NIV changed it to rape. And I'm going to do a teaching one night on the false Bible. So while I'm King James only, I'm going to do it probably next Sunday night. Let's do that. Okay, I'm done with that. If you don't turn me off. just hit finish. It's a finish